Sir, are you okay? Do you need help?
You should probably go home. Someone will handle this.
Maybe. But you're standing here alone right now.
For years, Ethan had been surrounded by people who wanted something from him. But Grace didn't know his wealth. She didn't care about his name. She simply saw someone who needed help.
You work here every night?
Yes, it's not glamorous, but honest work is still something to be proud of.
Most people would complain.
Complaining doesn't change life. Working hard does.
Ethan had met thousands of people in his life. But for some reason, he couldn't forget the one person who expected nothing from him. He didn't know her story yet. He didn't know how much she would change his life. He only knew one thing. He wanted to see her again. At only 35 years old, Ethan Brooks had achieved what most people spent their entire lives chasing. He was the founder and CEO of Carter Brooks International, a billion-dollar empire that made him one of the most powerful businessmen in the city. To the world, Ethan Brooks was the definition of success. He had the cars people dreamed of driving, the house people dreamed of owning, and the influence many people spent their entire lives trying to achieve. But behind the expensive suits and powerful image was a man who carried a loneliness nobody noticed. Every evening, when the business meetings ended and the noise of the world disappeared, Ethan returned to a home filled with everything money could buy, except the one thing he secretly wanted: someone who truly cared about him. His mother, Victoria, saw what everyone else ignored. She knew her son had built an empire, but had closed his heart to the possibility of love.
Ethan, you have built an empire. But tell me something, when the world becomes quiet, who will be there beside you?
Mother, I have responsibilities. The company needs
The company can make you successful, Ethan, but it cannot make you loved.
Ethan had learned to protect himself by keeping everyone at a distance. In his world, people often came closer because of what he had, not because of who he was. So he convinced himself that needing someone was a weakness, and that success was enough. But Ethan Brooks didn't know that his carefully controlled world was about to change. Because sometimes the person who transforms your life is not someone powerful. Sometimes it is someone who sees your heart when everyone else only sees your success. And on that rainy night, a billionaire who had everything was about to meet the one person who wanted nothing from him.
While Ethan Brooks lived in a world of luxury and influence, Grace Adams lived a completely different reality. She didn't have expensive clothes, a powerful family name, or a life filled with opportunities. But what she had was something money could never buy: a heart that refused to give up. Every day was a battle. Grace worked long hours just to create a better future for herself. Some people looked at her job and saw someone ordinary, but Grace knew that honest work was never something to be ashamed of. Grace had learned something important in life. Your circumstances may determine where you start, but they don't determine the kind of person you become. She didn't have much, but she always found a way to give something. One day, Grace received an opportunity that would take her into a world completely different from her own. A job at Carter Brooks International, a place where billionaires made decisions that affected thousands of lives. A place where she never imagined she would meet the man who would change hers forever. To everyone around him, Ethan Brooks was a symbol of power. But Grace saw something different. She didn't see a billionaire. She saw a person. Neither of them knew it yet, but their worlds were already moving toward each other. The billionaire who believed nobody could truly understand him, and the woman who had nothing to offer except a genuine heart. For Ethan Brooks, another day had come to an end,
Another day filled with decisions, negotiations, and responsibilities that never seemed to disappear. To everyone watching from the outside, his life looked effortless. But nobody saw the weight he carried when the doors closed and the world became quiet. That night, something unusual happened. For once, Ethan Brooks faced a problem that money and influence could not immediately solve. His car had broken down, his driver was unavailable, and everyone who could have helped had already gone home.
Sir, are you okay? Do you need help?
You should probably go home. Someone will handle this.
Maybe. But you're standing here alone right now.
You work here every night?
Yes, it's not glamorous, but honest work is still something to be proud of.
Most people would complain.
Complaining doesn't change life. Working hard does.
Ethan didn't know it yet, but this small inconvenience would become the beginning of the most important relationship of his life. Because when Grace Adams walked toward him in the rain, she didn't see a billionaire. She didn't see power. She didn't see status. She simply saw a person who needed help. Ethan was used to people changing the way they behaved around him once they discovered who he was. But Grace didn't know his reputation. She didn't know his wealth. She didn't care about his name. She simply offered kindness without expecting anything in return. Ethan Brooks had met countless people throughout his life. Powerful people, wealthy people, influential people. But he had never met someone who treated him like he was just another human being. And for the first time in years, Ethan found himself thinking about someone who wanted nothing from them. The next morning, Ethan tried to return to business as usual. But no matter how hard he tried, his mind kept returning to the woman who had spoken to him without fear, without admiration, and without expecting anything in return.
Find the cleaner who helped me last night.
The cleaner, sir?
Yes, Grace. I'd like to thank her personally.
Of course, sir. Right away.
Thank you.
Grace couldn't imagine why the company's CEO wanted to meet her. She wondered if she had accidentally broken a rule. The thought alone made her nervous. But what began as a simple thank you became something far more meaningful.
Thank you for helping me last night.
Anyone would have done the same.
You'd be surprised, not everyone would.
Kindness shouldn't depend on who the person is.
For the first time in years, Ethan wasn't discussing profits, investments, or business strategies. He was simply having a conversation. And somehow, those few minutes brought him more peace than months of success ever had. Neither Ethan nor Grace knew what the future held. But fate had quietly taken its first step. Sometimes, the greatest love stories don't begin with grand gestures. Sometimes, they begin with one simple act of kindness.
Mind if I join you?
You want to eat here? Only if you'll let me.
Within minutes, the entire building began talking. No one had ever seen Ethan Brooks spend his lunch break with an employee, let alone a cleaner. Rumors spread faster than either of them could imagine. Grace never tried to impress Ethan. She never spoke to him like he was above everyone else. She simply treated him like another human being. And somehow, that simple honesty made Ethan feel more alive than he had in years.
You really don't have to do this.
I know. I want to.
For the first time, Ethan saw the life Grace returned to every evening. It wasn't filled with luxury or comfort, but it was filled with something he hadn't experienced in a very long time. Community. genuine people. Real happiness. Ethan Brooks didn't realize it yet, but every conversation with Grace was quietly breaking down the walls he had spent years building around his heart. And without even trying, Grace Adams was changing him. Something inside Ethan Brooks was changing. The man who once measured every moment by profit and success was beginning to appreciate the small things he had ignored for years. A simple conversation, a genuine smile, a person who saw him without the billionaire title. But while Ethan was discovering a new side of himself, Grace remained focused on the life she was trying to build. She had dreams beyond cleaning offices. She wanted to create something meaningful. She wanted a future where her struggles became a reminder of how far she had come.
Excuse me, sir. I don't mean to interrupt, but I think there may be an error in those numbers.
You noticed that? Yes, she did.
For the first time, Ethan saw something others had overlooked. Grace was not defined by her job. She was intelligent, observant, capable. The world had only seen what she did for a living. Ethan was beginning to see who she truly was. But their growing connection was not easy. Ethan belonged to a world of wealth, influence, and privilege. Grace belonged to a world where every opportunity had to be earned. The distance between them was obvious. But somehow, every conversation made that distance feel smaller. Neither Ethan nor Grace planned for this. They came from completely different worlds. But sometimes, the strongest connections are the ones nobody expects. And slowly, without realizing it, Ethan Brooks and Grace Adams were becoming impossible for each other to forget. The people around Ethan began noticing something different. The man who once walked through the building like the weight of the world was on his shoulders had changed. He smiled more. He listened more. He treated people differently. And many wondered what had caused such a transformation. Grace never tried to change Ethan. She never told him how to run his company or how to live his life. She simply reminded him of something he had forgotten, that success means nothing if you lose the ability to connect with people.
Why do you do all this?
Because I know what it feels like when people overlook you.
And you still choose to help them?
I just want to be that person for someone else.
One day, Ethan discovered another side of Grace. She wasn't just kind inside the walls of his company. Kindness was who she was. Even when nobody was watching, she gave her time, her energy, and her heart to others. But for Ethan, this new feeling came with a fear. What started as a simple act of kindness had slowly become something neither Ethan nor Grace expected. Their conversations became longer. Their connection became stronger. And somewhere between friendship and trust, feelings began to grow. But their growing relationship did not happen in silence. Ethan Brooks was not just a man, he was a public figure. And when people noticed who had captured his attention, the world had something to say. Some people couldn't understand it. They believed someone like Ethan belonged with someone from his own world, someone wealthy, someone powerful, someone who matched his status. They looked at Grace and saw where she came from, but Ethan saw where she was going.
The world knows me because of what I built, but the people who truly know me understand who helped me become better. Grace is one of those people.
Despite Ethan's confidence, Grace carried a fear of her own. She wondered if she truly belonged in his world. She wondered if people would always see her as the poor cleaner who somehow ended up beside a billionaire.
Grace, I don't care what people see when they look at us.
And what do you see?
Someone who reminds me that I was more than my success.
But Ethan reminded her that he didn't care about what people saw. He cared about what he saw when he looked at her. Someone who reminded him that he was more than his success. For Ethan and Grace, love was never about money. It was never about status. It was never about what the world expected. It was about two people finding something rare. Someone who saw them completely. As the months passed, Ethan and Grace discovered something neither of them had expected. Their differences were not what separated them. Their differences were what made them stronger. Ethan gave Grace a glimpse of a world she never imagined. Grace gave Ethan something money had never been able to buy. Peace.
Ethan, have you thought about what happens when the world stops seeing this as a love story?
Mother, Grace is not what people think she is.
I'm not questioning her heart. I'm questioning whether this world will accept her.
But the world that once admired Ethan began questioning him. Headlines appeared, opinions spread. Strangers judged a woman they had never met. And for Grace, the attention became heavier than she expected. For the first time, she began wondering if loving Ethan had changed everything. She didn't want to become a distraction. She didn't want people to believe she was chasing his wealth. Ethan had spent his entire life protecting his company, protecting his reputation, protecting his image. But now he faced the one decision money could not solve. Would he protect the empire he built, or protect the person who changed him?
Ethan, I don't know if I belong in your world.
Grace, you are the reason my world finally feels complete.
What if people never accept me?
Then they will have to learn that my happiness is not theirs to decide.
Ethan chose Grace. But while they fought for their love, someone else was watching. Someone who believed Grace didn't belong. Someone who was willing to do whatever it took to separate them.
For years, Daniel Reed had been one of Ethan Brooks' most trusted executives. He knew the company. He understood the business. And more than anything, he understood Ethan's world. But beneath his loyalty was a feeling he had hidden for years. Resentment. Daniel had spent years standing beside Ethan. He believed he deserved more recognition, more influence, more power. And when Ethan began changing because of Grace, Daniel saw something he couldn't accept. The billionaire he once admired was becoming someone Daniel could no longer control. Slowly, Daniel began making plans. Not because Ethan had failed, not because the company was struggling, but because jealousy had convinced him that Ethan's happiness was something he needed to destroy. Daniel knew he could not defeat Ethan with business, so he decided to attack the one thing Ethan valued more than his empire: his trust. With careful planning, Daniel created a story that looked believable. A story designed to make Ethan question everything. A story that would make him believe Grace had been hiding the truth from him. That evening, Ethan and Grace believed they had finally found peace. They believed the hardest part was behind them. But they didn't know that someone was preparing to take everything they had built away. Because sometimes, the greatest danger does not come from strangers. Sometimes, it comes from someone standing close enough to call themselves a friend.
Ethan, I didn't want to believe this either. What are you talking about? You need to see what I found about Grace. Grace? What is this? I wish I never had to show you this, Ethan. Show me what? The truth about Grace.
The documents told a story that Ethan never expected to see. According to the evidence, Grace had been hiding things from him. The carefully created lies made it appear as though she had entered his life with a hidden motive.
Ethan, something is wrong. What happened?
I just need some time to think
Think about what?
about whether I really know everything about you.
For the first time since meeting Grace, Ethan felt uncertain. The woman who had brought him peace was now connected to a story he couldn't understand. And the hardest part was not the accusation. It was the fear that maybe he had been wrong. For Grace, Ethan's question hurt more than any insult from strangers. She could handle people judging her because they didn't know her. But Ethan was different. He was the one person she believed truly saw her.
I need you to leave for now,
Leave?
until I understand what is true and what isn't.
After everything we've been through, you believe I could do this?
Daniel watched everything unfold exactly as he planned. He knew Ethan's greatest weakness was not money. It was trust. And once trust was broken, even the strongest relationships could collapse. And in that moment, the two people who had found each other when the world felt empty were separated by a lie. Ethan thought he was protecting himself, but he had unknowingly hurt the one person who never wanted to hurt him. Grace left Ethan's world with a broken heart. The same place where she once felt accepted now felt like a place where she no longer belonged. She had entered his life with nothing but honesty, yet she was leaving with the one thing she never expected to lose: his trust. Returning home felt different. The apartment that once represented independence now reminded her of everything she had lost. But Grace refused to let pain destroy her. Life quickly returned to what it had been before Ethan. Long hours, difficult days, endless responsibilities. But Grace was different now. She had learned that losing someone's love did not mean losing her own worth. Meanwhile, Ethan discovered that having everything he once wanted felt meaningless without the person who made him feel alive. The mansion was still there. The company was still there. His success remained untouched. But his happiness was gone. And as the days passed, something started bothering him. Small details didn't make sense. Questions appeared where answers should have been. Ethan was beginning to realize the person he pushed away was the person who had always been honest with him. Grace refused to let heartbreak stop her. Every morning, she reminded herself that life had to go on. She buried the memories deep inside her heart and focused on surviving one day at a time. She believed the hardest part was finally behind her.
Congratulations, Grace. You're pregnant. Pregnant? I'm pregnant. Yes, you are.
The news should have brought joy. Instead, it brought fear. The man she loved believed she had betrayed him. The child growing inside her would enter a world where his father wanted nothing to do with them. Grace had never felt so alone.
I don't know how we're going to make it, but I promise you, you'll never feel unwanted.
Across the city, Ethan tried convincing himself he had done the right thing. Yet every quiet night reminded him of Grace. Her laughter, her kindness, the peace she brought into his life. But pride refused to let him reach out. Grace stopped waiting for someone to rescue her. From that day forward, every decision she made was no longer just for herself. She wasn't simply fighting to survive anymore. She was fighting for the little life growing inside her. And without realizing it, Grace Adams had just begun the greatest journey of her life.
Every day became more difficult. Grace was no longer working for herself alone. Every extra hour, every aching step, every sacrifice was now for the little heartbeat growing inside her.
Grace, sit down before you collapse. I'm all right. I just need a minute. You can't keep pushing yourself like this.
Money became tighter with every passing week. Grace stopped buying things she wanted. She skipped meals whenever she had to. But somehow, there was always enough left for her baby. Ethan buried himself in work. Awards came. New business deals followed. His company reached greater heights than ever before. But every success felt strangely empty. Because the one person he wanted to share it with was no longer beside him.
Your father doesn't know you're here. But one day, I'll tell you how much he loved me before everything changed.
Grace couldn't promise her child a life of luxury. She couldn't promise expensive schools, or a mansion, or millions of dollars. But she made one promise she intended to keep forever. Her child would never grow up doubting they were deeply loved.
9 months of sacrifice had led to this moment. Grace had prepared herself for the pain, but nothing could prepare her for facing it completely alone.
Grace, stay with us. You're doing well. Please, let my baby be safe. We will. Just breathe. I'm so scared.
While Grace fought to bring new life into the world, Ethan stood beneath crystal chandeliers, surrounded by applause. He had no idea that, at that very moment, he was becoming a father.
Congratulations, you have a beautiful baby boy. Hello, my little miracle. Your name is Noah, because after every storm, God always sends hope.
Grace named her son Noah, not because life had been easy, but because he represented hope. A reminder that even after heartbreak, new beginnings were still possible. Grace walked out of the hospital carrying more than her son. She carried a new purpose, a new reason to keep fighting. She didn't know what the future would bring, but one thing was certain: Noah would never face life without a mother's unconditional love.
8 years passed. The little boy Grace once held in her arms had become the reason she smiled every morning. Noah had never known luxury, but he had never lacked love. Life had never become easier. Grace worked harder than ever. Every sacrifice she made had one purpose: to give Noah opportunities she never had.
Mom, how come everyone at school has a dad? Where's mine?
Oh, sweetie, your dad isn't here, but I am, and I love you so much.
I love you too.
Your father is a good man. One day, when the time is right, you'll understand everything.
Grace could have filled Noah's heart with anger. She could have taught him to hate the man who wasn't there. But love refused to let bitterness win. Even after everything, She protected Ethan in the heart of the son he didn't know existed. Noah grew into a remarkable boy, kind, brilliant, humble. Every achievement reminded Grace that every sleepless night, every sacrifice had been worth it.
Mom, I got selected! The winners get to present their inventions to the biggest company in the country. Can I go, please?
Of course, sweetie. I'm so proud of you.
Grace had no idea that one simple invitation would change their lives forever. Because the company sponsoring the competition belonged to one man, Ethan Brooks. And destiny was quietly preparing the reunion no one saw coming.
For Noah, this competition was more than a school event. It was an opportunity to prove that where you come from does not decide where you can go. Grace looked at her son with pride. She had raised him with very little, yet somehow he dreamed bigger than anyone she had ever known. Over the years, Ethan had become more than a businessman. He invested in young talents across the country, believing that every child deserved a chance to be seen. Yet deep inside, there was still an emptiness that success had never been able to fill. Grace's heart raced with every word Noah spoke. She wasn't thinking about trophies. She wasn't thinking about prizes. She simply wanted her son to know that his dreams were possible. Then, in a single terrifying moment, everything changed. One slip, one fall, and the celebration turned into panic.
He's losing too much blood. We need a compatible donor immediately or we may lose him.
No, please save him! We're trying. Stay with us.
Without asking questions, without expecting anything in return, Ethan stepped forward. He wasn't thinking about business. He wasn't thinking about the competition. He simply couldn't watch a child lose the chance to live. Neither of them realized that this decision was about to uncover a truth hidden for 8 long years.
Every second mattered. Noah's condition was becoming critical. The doctors needed a compatible blood donor immediately. There wasn't enough time to wait. Minutes later, the laboratory delivered unexpected news. Ethan wasn't just a compatible donor. His blood was an almost perfect match. So perfect that it immediately caught the doctor's attention. Without hesitation, Ethan gave what Noah needed most. He had no idea he wasn't simply saving a stranger. He was saving his own son. As Ethan looked at the sleeping boy, something inside him changed. It wasn't pity. It wasn't sympathy. It felt strangely familiar, like a bond that had existed long before they had ever met.
Mom, I'm here, sweetheart. You're safe. Thank you for saving my son.
You don't have to thank me. Can I ask you something?
Of course.
Who's Noah's father?
For 8 long years, Grace had rehearsed this moment in her mind. She had imagined what she would say if Ethan ever asked about Noah. But now that the moment had finally arrived, the words refused to come.
You are Noah's father. I found out I was pregnant after you sent me away. I wanted to tell you.
But you never gave me the chance.
Everything around Ethan suddenly felt unreal. The child he had just saved was his son. 8 birthdays, 8 years of laughter, 8 years of memories, all stolen from him by a decision he could never take back.
Grace, if Noah is my son, why didn't you come back?
Because you made it very clear that you never wanted to see me again.
As Ethan examined the old documents, something didn't feel right. Details he had ignored years ago suddenly stood out. Tiny inconsistencies, missing signatures, altered records. For the first time, he began to question whether Grace had ever betrayed him at all. That night, Ethan made himself one promise. He would uncover every lie, every deception, every person responsible for destroying the life they could have shared. Because the truth had finally begun to reveal itself. Ethan barely slept that night. Every memory, every decision, every accusation from 8 years ago demanded another look. This time, he wasn't searching for someone to blame. He was searching for the truth. The deeper they searched, the clearer the pattern became. Important files had disappeared. Security reports had been altered. Someone had carefully rewritten the past, and Ethan had believed every word, every trail, every missing document, every suspicious approval pointed to the same person, Daniel Reed, the man Ethan had trusted like family.
8 years ago, you didn't just destroy Grace's life. You stole 8 years from my son. I never thought it would go this far. Neither did I.
Years of jealousy, ambition, and bitterness finally collapsed under the weight of the truth. Daniel confessed to manipulating the evidence that destroyed Ethan and Grace's relationship. The lie that had separated a family was finally over. Justice had finally been served. But Ethan knew exposing Daniel wasn't enough. The hardest part still lay ahead. Winning back the trust of the woman he had wronged and becoming the father Noah deserved. Some wounds heal with time. Others heal only with love. For 8 years, Ethan had unknowingly stayed away. Now, he stood at the same woman's door, carrying the truth, and hoping it wasn't too late. Every document confirmed what Grace had known all along. She had never betrayed Ethan. She had never stolen from the company. The truth, buried for 8 painful years, was finally free.
Grace, I believed a lie. I failed you. I failed our son, and I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make that right.
Hi, Mr. Ethan. Mom says you're the man who saved my life.
No, you saved mine.
For the first time in 8 years, father and son embraced. Noah didn't yet understand who Ethan truly was, but somehow his heart already trusted him. Sometimes forgiveness doesn't begin with forgetting. It begins with one sincere apology, one open heart, and one second chance.
Ethan, I can't erase the past, but maybe we can give Noah the future he deserves.
The hardest truth was no longer between Ethan and Grace. It was the truth waiting for an 8-year-old boy, a boy who deserved honest answers, and a father who was finally ready to give them.
Noah, do you remember when you asked me about your father?
Yes, Mom.
He's here. Ethan is your father.
If you're my dad, why didn't you come for us?
Noah, I wanted to, because I believed a terrible lie. I thought your mom had betrayed me. I was wrong, and I'm so sorry I wasn't there. If you'll let me, I'd like to spend the rest of my life making.
Children have an incredible gift. They often forgive long before adults learn how. Noah wasn't thinking about the years they had lost. He was simply happy that his father was finally home. Not every family begins perfectly. Some families are broken apart, only to be brought back together by truth. Their story wasn't beginning, but at last, they were finally writing it together.
Ethan couldn't recover the 8 birthdays he had missed. He couldn't rewrite the past. But every new memory became another step toward becoming the father Noah deserved. Winning Noah's heart came naturally. Winning Grace's trust would take much longer. Trust, once broken, isn't repaired with promises. It's rebuilt through consistent love, one day at a time.
This isn't about replacing your life. It's about building a new one together.
As long as we decide together, I'm willing to try.
For the first time, they weren't separated by lies. They weren't divided by pain. They were finally building the home that should have existed all along.
Dad, you're never leaving again, right?
Not for the rest of my life.
Some stories end with revenge. Others end with justice. But the greatest stories end with restoration. Because love is strongest, not when life is perfect, but when broken hearts choose each other again.
Some signatures change businesses. Others change lives. On that day, Noah didn't just receive a legal document. He finally received what had been missing all his life: his father's name. 8 years earlier, Grace had walked through these doors carrying a mop. Today, she returned to lead a mission that would change thousands of lives. Her greatest promotion wasn't a title. It was the restoration of her dignity. Instead of allowing their pain to define them, Ethan and Grace transformed it into hope. Every mother they helped, every child they encouraged, became proof that broken stories can still inspire beautiful endings.
Grace, I once judged you without knowing the truth.
Thank you for giving this family another chance.
Families heal when love becomes stronger than pride.
For years, Ethan built companies worth billions. But nothing compared to the investment he now made every single day. Investing his time, his wisdom, and his love into his son. Life hadn't given them back the years they lost, but it gave them something even greater. A future they would never take for granted. Together, they discovered that the greatest legacy isn't measured by wealth, but by the lives changed through love.
2 years passed.
Time didn't erase their scars, but it transformed them into reminders of how far they had come. The family that had once been broken was now helping thousands of others rebuild their own lives. Noah never stopped dreaming. The little boy who once wondered where his father was had become a young leader who inspired others to believe in themselves.
If I had another lifetime, I'd still spend every day earning your forgiveness.
You already did.
Do you remember the day I promised Noah I would never leave again?
You kept your promise.
Years earlier, they lost a family because of one lie. Today, they had gained a much bigger one. Every life they touched became part of their story. People often believe happy endings happen because life becomes easy. But the truth is different. Happy endings belong to those who refuse to give up on love, who choose forgiveness over bitterness, and who never stop believing that truth will one day find its way into the light. Ethan, Grace, and Noah didn't just find each other again. They found the life they were always meant to live.